Thank you, Ms. Edmondson. Good evening, everybody. We have a very jam-packed schedule tonight and a crowded table, so let's get right to the business first of introducing the candidates for governor of Pennsylvania, and they are Patrick Fallon, the Libertarian Party candidate. He is a small business owner in Monroe County, Tannersville, the city of Tannersville. Then we have Timothy Holloway of the Patriot Party. He is from Westmoreland County, Ligonier, Pennsylvania, a dentist by profession. Tom Ridge is the Republican candidate. He's a member of the U.S. Congress from Erie, Pennsylvania. Peg Luksick is the Constitutional Party candidate, and she's the founder of a service network for single parents from Johnstown, PA. And Mark Singal, the Democratic candidate, is the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, and he is from Johnstown.
There's nothing wrong with Pennsylvania we can't fix. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's okay. We're trying to watch the time. Patrick Fallon.
Thanks, Mark. Libertarians believe every individual should be allowed to live their lives and conduct their business in any peaceful, honest way they choose. Other political parties want to mandate what they think is good and prohibit what they claim is bad. Libertarians want to leave money in the hands of those who earn it, so each of us will have more power to control our own lives. We want neither to mandate nor prohibit. So in that very important sense, the Libertarian Party occupies the middle ground in America today.
Thank you, Mr. Fallon. Timothy Holloway. First, we'll talk about crime. And a lot of people have been talking in this campaign about the punishment aspect of crime, but there also is the question of prevention. And so for our opening question tonight, and we begin with Mr. Fallon by luck of the draw, tell us what you would do if governor to prevent crime, to reduce crime in Pennsylvania.
Okay, I think that restitution to the victim should be the guiding principle of justice, and in fact should be a condition of a criminal's release or parole. I think that the victim ought to be able to veto plea bargain proposals. I think that the private ownership of weapons is part of the solution to the crime problem because they're used overwhelmingly to deter crime. But where I part most markedly from the other candidates for governor is that I think that we should try something that worked in the past to cut violent crime in half in our society, and that's ending prohibition. Alcohol prohibition gave us Al Capone and the mob. The current war on drugs has given us the Bloods, the Crips, and the Jamaican Posse. I think we should take the profit motive out of the war on drugs and the black market effects. I think it's absurd to release violent criminals in order to make room for non-violent drug offenders under mandatory minimum laws, but because our prisons are full, that's what we're doing. And I'd like to change that direction.
Mr. Fallon, your thoughts on health care?
I would look at eliminating the certificate of need requirements that are based on the rather bizarre economic theory that more competition will lead to increased costs. A local hospital or a rural area shouldn't have to satisfy a politician's idea of what constitutes health care. They should be free to offer that service without waiting for the bureaucratic approval. Additionally, our state mandates over 800 items must be included in basic insurance coverage, items such as toupees, teeth whiteners, drug and alcohol abuse treatment, whether the customer wants it or not. Clearly, if we eliminated these state mandates, we could get towards catastrophic-only coverage. The Heritage Institute estimates that we could lower premiums by 30% if we eliminated these state mandates. You couple that with medical savings accounts, so people would pay for out-of-pocket medical expenses themselves. That would, right now, we don't have to be educated healthcare consumers because 87% of the time someone else pays the bill. So I think that it would be better if we move towards being educated healthcare consumers ourselves.
Rate and the disease rate goes.
I'm pro-choice, but I don't think the state should fund abortions, and I think they should stay out of what's basically a family matter.
Fallon?
Mark, the Agricultural Department already has 59 separate jobs training programs working now that spend $13 billion a year. The Department of Education has another 34 programs, separate programs, spending $7 billion a year.
At the federal level.
Right. That's $20 billion alone spent right now by the government in jobs training programs. Every federal agency has jobs training programs, it seems. The problem is they aren't working. Business does some things better than government, and one of those things is training workers for jobs in business. The Casey Singal administration increased taxes in '91 by about $2 billion, and the state still hasn't recovered. We've lost over 100,000 jobs since 1989. We've got to privatize government services and lower the corporate net income tax because our tax structure is no secret to investment capital. Investment capital avoids Pennsylvania like the plague. Businesses here look to relocate, and that's where our jobs are going. We've got to become more competitive by lowering our taxes. I agree with Charles Murray, who said 10 years ago that welfare should be abolished, not reformed, and he said that because we should stop insulating people from the consequences of their own action, and I agree with him. Welfare was supposed to be temporary help during hard times, and Americans give over $120 billion a year now in contributions, and I think that would be better spent if we cut out the middleman. Let's stop sending it through government. I trust people, not the government, to see that there are working mothers that need the money instead of giving it to farmers not to grow crops. So I think I would trust people, not the government.
Mr. Fallon.
Mark, the Allentown campus of Penn State recently revealed that 50%, almost 50% of their incoming freshman class needed to be remediated in math, English, or both. If GM had a 50% defect rate, they'd quickly find themselves out of business because of competition. Libertarians favor independent, competing schools voluntarily funded. Rather than looking to spread the enormous tax burdens around among enough taxpayers so that they would sit still, I would challenge the educational monopoly that are driving these price increases. Hartford, Connecticut recently handed over the management of their school system to a private concern. They joined many other school districts across the country that are looking at getting market forces back into education. I would aggressively privatize the schools of Pennsylvania, encourage homeschooling, alternative schools, neighborhood schools, decouple the state from education because it's too important to be left as a government monopoly.
Mr. Fallon, your view of the environment.
I think there's a better way to handle the auto emissions problem than the one being proposed. I was astounded to learn that the grossest polluting 10% of automobiles cause 50% of the carbon monoxide problem, while the cleanest 50% of automobiles only cause 5% of the problem. Having us all report for annual emissions tests is like making us all go to jail one weekend a year because some of us are assaulting one another. Or it's a lot like trying to stop drunk driving by having an annual breathalyzer test. Instead, let's use technology to target gross polluters. The Sun Company of Philadelphia tested it here, and it was tested in California. You can target a moving emissions source with an infrared device that ties that to a license plate. We could target the gross polluters without inconveniencing everyone, target the guilty without inconveniencing the innocent.
And how about federal versus state?
I think it should be handled at a more local level. I'd like to see Ohio implement those same measures. I think we should go after the people actually polluting and not have us all report once a year.
Patrick Fallon.
Thanks, Mark. In a few short weeks, we will select a new governor whose term will take us to 1999, the edge of the millennium. The new governor's policies will have a lot to do with how we meet the challenges of the next century. I propose to meet those challenges with respect for both your economic and personal liberties. I seek the support of those Pennsylvanians who have never forgotten what an adventure America has always been and who are neither afraid nor ashamed of what freedom has accomplished. You know, I was lucky enough to know a gentleman by the name of Carl Hess who recently passed away. He used to say that there are no guarantees, only possibilities. Freedom to act, to achieve, to create, to order our own lives as we see fit, as long as we respect the equal right of others to do the same. That freedom has been our vision. I say that freedom can be our possibility. Thank you for listening.